My talk today is called, How Long Do We Live? And I want to say right at the start that the idea of reincarnation, I personally was extremely skeptical about. And I thought, what does it matter? What does it matter if we live on or not? We're here today, let's handle the day. And then I'm in ministerial school. And the two courses I'm taking this semester, one is on quantum physics, and the other is on Buddhism. And they are both using their precepts to not only prove that reincarnation exists, but that it is really important for us to know about it. And their proof was so compelling to me that I wanted to bring it to you today, to share with you what got me very excited about what they were sharing with me. And so I'm going to be talking about some very heady subjects for starters. We're going to start with quantum physics. But I'm going to take this step by step so that you can follow where I'm headed with all this. The first idea in quantum physics is called non-locality. Non-locality is defined as anything outside our physical universe. And our physical universe is defined as anything that travels slower than the speed of light. If it travels slower than the speed of light, it's considered local in our physical universe. If it travels faster than the speed of light, it's considered not part of our physical universe. Because according to quantum physics, nothing in our physical universe can travel faster than the speed of light. So there's been an experiment that's been done over and over and over for decades, where what they do is they go into the nucleus of an atom and they pull out 2 photons. And they shoot these photons in opposite directions. And then they do something to one of the photons. And there is a correlation of what happens to the other photon instantly, faster than the speed of light. And they have done this time and time again, and they keep making bigger tunnels. They now have a tunnel they're doing this in that's over a mile long. And the results are the same every single time. Somehow there is a communication between these 2 photons that is faster than the speed of light, which means it's outside our physical universe, creating non-locality, and yet the communication is happening locally. So there was a scientist who said, well, if this happens with photons, how does this affect us as humans? And so what he did, are you with me so far? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Moving along here? Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. What he did is he took people who were great at meditation, been doing it for decades, and they put 2 of them in the same room together, and they had them meditate on communicating to each other for 20 minutes. That's it. 20 minutes. Then they would move them, didn't matter the distance, and put them in what was considered electromagnetic static clean rooms. Nothing could get in these rooms. And they would hook them both up to EEGs. Now this experiment has been done 5 times over the last decade at 5 different research centers with the same result. They would hook these folks up, these 2 folks up, to EEG machines, which basically measures brain waves, brain activity. And they would then have one of them have a strobe light flash at them at random intervals. And every time it flashed at this one person, his EEG would spike. Well, what they found is the EEG of the person in the other room would have a spike at the exact same moment, almost as strong as the spike of the first person with no strobe going on. He's sitting in the dark. Instantaneous communication, faster than the speed of light, making it non-local. Now, why is this important to reincarnation? Because it means there is communication going on between the physical and the non-physical, which is where we go when we leave these bodies. And so it creates the probability, which is the possibility. It creates the possibility that reincarnation can exist because there is communication between what is happening in this physical universe and what is happening outside this physical universe. Are you with me?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Now we get to the second precept of quantum physics, called discontinuity. Discontinuity is also known as quantum leaps. These show up in anthropology as fossil gaps. Darwin's theory of evolution holds up for some of the fossils that have been recovered, where it's a step-by-step evolutionary process. But there are these gaps, these big gaps, where something else has occurred that so far have been unexplained. And these are called quantum leaps, because there's nothing that occurred, no circumstance that happened to explain how we got from this evolutionary stage to this one. The step-by-step that went up into that point, all of a sudden, there's this leap, and then it continues again, step-by-step for a while, and then another leap. Now this shows up in creativity all the time. One of the most famous is E equals mc squared. When Einstein came up with E equals mc squared, there was nothing going on in physics, no mathematical formula that could have led him to discover that. All he knew is that the ones that did exist didn't work. It was a quantum leap that he came up with a theory not based on anything else that was presently available. And this goes on all the time. People come up with brand new ideas, never before known, that come into existence not based on anything that previously occurred. And so why is this important to reincarnation? Because reincarnation is not a step-by-step process. When we leave our bodies, what happens next is a quantum leap. And what we have here is the knowing that quantum leaps occur. And so now we have non-locality, showing us that we communicate, that there is something going on between the outside the physical and the inside the physical. And the second that quantum leaps occur. So we continue to build this evidence. And then we get to the third idea of quantum physics, which is, for me, the most interesting. And it's called tangled hierarchies. But before I can tell you about tangled hierarchies, I have to tell you what it's based on. It's based on the basic quantum physics precept that what's going on is quantum possibilities. All there is tons and tons of possibilities. And these possibilities don't become an event, a local event, don't come into physical form, don't become a local event without an observer. It takes an observer to create. And so this turned out in an experiment, once again with photons, where if the observer wanted the result of the experiment to prove that a photon was a wave, it would show up as a wave. If the observer wanted to prove that the photon was a particle, it would show up as a particle. And this happened every single time. Whatever the observer wanted the photon to show up as, this photon, this basic particle, wave, whatever it is of life, would only show up as whatever the observer said it would. Now we're all made of photons. It is the one substance that is everything, showing up as whatever the observer says it does. But there's a problem. What happened at the Big Bang? Who was observing then? And so that leads to the idea of tangled hierarchies. Now, tangled hierarchies are based on what's known as a paradox. And the basic paradox, one of the more fun ones that we play with, is the line, I am a liar. Somebody says to you, I'm a liar. Are they lying or telling the truth? There's no way to tear them apart. They're tangled. You know, another one that you hear all the time is, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Right? There's no way to tear them apart. And so this same idea applies to the Big Bang. That for an observer to have been there, consciousness must have always been and always will be. Consciousness must have always been and always will be. Now, why is this important to reincarnation? Because that's what we are as consciousness. It means our consciousness has always been and always will be. So now, we get to some great anecdotal evidence on all this stuff. Turns out there's this psychologist, Dr. Ian Stevenson, who spent 40 years collecting data on somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000 case studies, mostly of children under 5, who reported that they knew about being another life. And he and a group of volunteers would go out and research what these children said to see whether they were true or not, to verify the evidence of their stories. Here are a couple of those stories. A boy in Britain kept waking up with nightmares of being shot down from the sky. And so they finally started asking him about it, called in Dr. Stevenson. They researched this. And it turns out he was a World War II pilot, shot down in the Pacific. The boy was able to show them where the plane went down, and they found the plane. Another, a little girl kept saying, what am I doing as a girl? I was a boy last time. And was so persistent about it. Her parents finally called in Dr. Stevenson to check her story. Well, he found the house that she was describing. And unbeknownst to the child, they went for a drive past this house. And when they passed it, the little child was like, stop, stop, that's the house I used to live in. And when they went into the house, the little girl went to the bedroom where she had been in, undid a loose floorboard, and inside were items that she had already described to Dr. Stevenson would be there. These are big proofs, and there are 25 to 3,000 of them. So now we get to why. Why is this important? Because the Buddhist precept is, who we go out as is who we come in as. If we go out cranky, disappointed, bitter, upset, full of regret. That's how we come in. And we all have heard stories, because we know babies don't come in empty, of mothers describing their babies as, oh, my baby is mostly a happy child. And then others going, boy, I've got a cranky baby. Keeps us up all night crying. And all the different stories in between. Babies do not come in empty. And so as far as the Buddhist is concerned, they're coming in the way they went out. The ramifications of this are gigantic for us. Because if we can live a life where we know the preciousness, know the beauty, know the love, be here in full gratitude and appreciation for who we are here and now, not only does this life get better, but we set the stage for the next. We are not only working on our life now to be better. Those who think, oh, I'm going to commit suicide and die and, just do better next time. They come in with those same upsets they went out with. It's here and now we do the work. Because it doesn't only improve this life, but the next to come. Dr. Stephen Levine, in his book, Who Dies?, speaks about how healing may not be a physical thing. It's an inward thing. That the healing that we are all needing, moving towards, that serves us best, is to, even in the face of whatever circumstances we may have, the preciousness of each breath still stands tall in us, is our guiding light. The gratitude for those around us. And each moment we get to appreciate the things going on around us, the things going on in us. Heal any regrets or bitterness, anger. Let go. That is true, deep healing. And it is worth every breath we take to do that work. So I invite you to have this preciousness, this wondrousness, right here and right now. Because it doesn't only affect right here and right now, but sets the stage for the next time. Thank you.